Let's get started with the process flow of raw file editing. At the end of the introductory video, I told you about Irfan View. So let's see how Irfan View works in a very fast and efficient manner to open raw files. Okay. So these are some of the clicks that we have clicked from our Munsiari tour. As you can see, the folder's name is Munsiari. It's a tour that we did around 1.5 months back uh, in March. Okay. So let's see how fast these files are getting rendered. I'll select a few files just to show you. See the speed with which I can go down. These are all .nef files, so we can understand that these are clicked from a Nikon camera, and uh, now I've double clicked the file and you can see it has got opened up. Okay, so it's a beautiful software to edit, to see photographs. What you can do with this is you can select good photographs, or the cream photographs or the keepers, and you can reject the other photographs. Okay, so this is it, and we'll be selecting a few photographs from this folder only for editing. Okay, so I just wanted to share a very good bumper photograph with you from our tour to Munsiari, and this photograph belongs to Himalayan monal. Okay, Himalayan monal is one of the signature species of Uttarakhand. A lot of birding tours are done. Okay, so now I'm selecting this file for processing. Okay, you can see this is how the raw file looks like. Sorry for my cough. Okay, so this is how the raw file looks like. We'll be selecting one of the photographs from this. Uh, this looks to be a decent photograph. In fact, this looks to be a much better photograph. Okay, so now you can see there are two monals, both framed to perfection, but it being a very colorful bird, we want to highlight the colors of this bird. Okay, so let's get started. What I will do, I'll right click this file. Okay. PC seems to be not in a good mood to respond. Okay, now it has responded. Okay, so I've right clicked this file. I'll go on open with. I'll open it up with Photoshop. Okay, so once I open it with Photoshop in a raw, first I get a window for editing raw images. I'll not straight away go into Photoshop. I'll go into the raw editing side of Photoshop. Okay, let's see. Image seems to be a bit, yeah, now it is opening. So now you see the file which I have opened. It has got opened in Canon RAW now. Okay, Photoshop RAW. Okay, so now when it's a raw file, you will see these windows in front of you. Okay, now none of the sliders have been done, so that means it's an unedited file. I'll be doing a edit right in front of you for this particular photograph. Okay, so now you see, first thing, it is giving me a different tabs. First is the basic tabs, second is the tone curve, third is the details, fourth one is HSL. HSL stands for hue, saturation, and luminance. Okay, fourth one stands for split toning. If you want to edit your photograph in partial coloring, you know we'll come to all these tabs one by once we start editing these photographs. So first things first, always keep in mind at what temperature. I'm not talking about very specifics, that was it -2, was it -6.5, was it 2.3. No, I'm not asking you to be into very specifics, but yes, you need to remember the kind of temperature in which you have clicked your photograph. Okay, now this photograph is showing me a temperature of 7000 Kelvin, which is very high. Okay, which is not even the May temperature in India. So I clearly remember that I have clicked this photograph somewhere, on 4500 Kelvin. So now you see, now I have reduced the temperature. Can you see a slight blue tinge into the photograph? So it is bringing that, tonality to the photograph, that at what temperature you have clicked the photograph. Okay, now let's see if I increase it. See now, you can visualize this to be clicked in summer hot, but since these birds are moving on snow, we know it would not be a real depiction. Okay, so always keep in mind the kind of temperature in which you have clicked this photograph. I don't mind this photograph having a tinge of blue because this was clicked in freezing cold conditions. Okay, this is where you get the bird. Okay, now you can get, you see now, if I am setting the tinge, I'm setting the tone of the photograph. Okay, now here it becomes a very sapient kind of very ultraviolet photograph. Now if I go to the green, it renders a very green. We need to have a decent balance, so I'll keep it at +6. Now the most critical part: exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. Okay, so exposure typically means what is the exposure that you have received. Okay, many a times we get a photograph which is underexposed, many a times we get a photograph which is overexposed. Okay, so this is the slider through which you can control. Okay, so I still believe that this photograph needs to be exposed a bit more because I want the colors to come out really nice. Okay, so see now, if I bring it to the max level, the photograph become extremely overexposed. Okay, if I bring it to this level, the photograph becomes extremely underexposed. So you need to keep a very good balance. Okay, also one thing that you need to keep in mind is, once you transfer this photograph to a smart TV, smart television, their screens are better in terms of calibrations, better than the laptop screens or mobile screens. Okay, so that is where you will see the true quality of your image. Okay, so always try a few photograph, edit a few photograph, and see them on your smart TV. Once you are satisfied with this, keep that thing in mind, that what exposure looks perfect, or slight overexposed photograph on laptop looks perfectly exposed on television. That should do good for you. Okay, so I know my laptop is not, its screen is not giving me the best of the results, so I overexpose my photographs a bit to get good results, good calibrated results on the calibrated screens. So I'm exposing my photograph a bit more. Okay, now since I have exposed it, you can see the details of eyes have come in. Okay, if you want to zoom in, this zoom in entry is there. You click it, you get into it. Okay, if you want to get out of it, this is what you get. You click right click of your mouse, and this is the Windows PC which I am using. So Apple guys, you have to do your own adjustments. Okay, so now if I go to 66%, see now I get more close to the photograph. 33% I get more close to the photograph. Okay, so now what I'll do with contrast. Contrast typically outlines the photograph, or creates the boldness in the scene. So I typically increase the contrast. But if you have an underexposed photograph, refrain from increasing contrast too much. Okay, that will only give a blackish, or underexposed tinge to your photographs. So avoid increasing contrast too much in underexposed photographs. So let's see, I've increased the contrast a bit. Now let's see what happens if I go to extremes. See now, if I've gone to extreme, the wings are looking very, 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 standing out, which is more than enough. If I reduce the contrast, I can see a very, blurred image of the birds. So slight increase on a well exposed photograph, slight increased in contrast should be good enough. On highlights, okay, Now what I say about highlights, highlights is typically the background of the photograph. Okay, here now if I reduce the highlights, you will see now, see now the foreground snow, see now the details of snow are coming back. If I am reducing, if I'm increasing the highlights, the details of snow are going. Okay, but with this, if I increase it, I can also see a slight ultraviolet light going beyond the snow, which I really don't want. Okay, and I also want snow to stand out, that's one of the elements of the photograph. So I want snow to be very clear, so I'm reducing the highlights a bit. Okay, now shadow part. Okay, shadow of the foreground of the photograph is obviously foreground of your photograph. More often than not is the subject that you have clicked, in this case the monals. Okay, so if I increase the shadows, now you will see the details of monals are going up. See now, they are getting more opened up, the details. Okay, which is what I want. So if I reduce the shadows, you can see now the colors of monal are going down, the light on them is going down, which I really don't want. Okay, so you can, it's just a joystick, keep playing with it, get yourself accustomed. That's it. The point being, what it is meant to do, that I have told you. Okay, now I am opening up uh, the shadows a bit more. Okay, on the whites part, now since I have opened up shadows, can you see the snow, details of snow have gone down a bit. Now let's see now, if see now, see now. Okay, so keep it under check, do not do any extreme things with it. Okay, so now the with whites, if I reduce the whites, you can see my image is getting more dull. If I increase the whites, my image is getting more brighter, which I want. Okay, blacks again is a kind of a contrast, can be used as a contrasting tool. See now, if I reduce the blacks, my monals are standing out in a more better manner. Okay, so I reduce the blacks a bit in well lit photographs. Okay, so let's see, if I increase the blacks, what happens. See, the image becomes very blur. So now we come down to all these three things. Okay, clarity is all about, giving sharpness to the image. You can play with it right now, or there is a later stage also where we can do this. Okay, so I usually avoid clarity at the raw side of the image. Vibrance is a very critical thing. Now you see two things, one is vibrance, one is saturation. Okay, so what vibrance does is it picks up the important colors of your photographs and gives them more luminescence. Okay, what saturation does, it enhances all the colors which are there in your photographs. Okay, so avoid using too much of saturation, stick to vibrance. Okay, let's see how vibrance works. So if I reduce the vibrance, you see now most reduction has happened in monal. Okay, now if I increase, see now how much monals are looking now. They are looking more vibrant than they should actually. Okay, so I increase the vibrance a bit more. Okay, that's it. Okay, saturation, see now, if I saturate it, the entire image becomes saturated. Even the leaves here are becoming saturated, the background, everything. Okay, so refrain from putting too much saturation on your photographs. Okay, and rely more on vibrance. Okay, vibrance gives a more natural look to your photographs. Okay, once we are done with this, what I will do is I go to the second tab. Okay, it tells me parametric and point. Okay, point is more suitable for portraits. Parametric is more suitable for wildlife and landscape, so we'll stick to parametric. Okay, now what parametric does is, till now we have been dealing with the foreground of the photograph in highlights, in contrast, in exposure, in whites, in blacks. Okay, what this window will do now is, this window will deal with the background of the photograph. Okay, which is equally important. Okay, so let's start. See now, if I reduce the highlight, see my background is going dull. If I increase the highlight, see my monals are getting more and more pronounced. Okay. So in a well-lit image, no need to do much. Just a jungle code. Okay. Let's continue. So if we continue doing this, slight highlights is good enough. Okay. I don't want too much brightness to get reflected from their colors because their wings are already very luster oriented, metallic oriented. Now if I increase the lights, you see now the background light is getting lit up. Now if I do this, the background is getting dark. So slight light corrections is fine enough. On the darks as well, these are just joysticks. I would again suggest each one of you to keep playing with it. Get to what suits you. Okay. Shadows again. See, many a times birds are not equally exposed. Okay. Many a times we've come across a scene wherein the head of the bird is also black, the eyes is also black, and we end up underexposing the eye. So this shadow is a perfect tool to bring out uh, you know or to take out the shadows or snatch out the shadows and put more lights on darkened areas. So let's see how it does. See now, if I am increasing the shadows, see now if I am reducing the shadows, the light on wings is reducing. Now if I am increasing the shadows, wings are getting well lit. Okay, once done, again this is sharpening. Sharpening will be dealt during the second part of image processing. Okay, now we come to hue, saturation, and luminescence. Okay, luminance. So now hue typically gives you the message of the surrounding atmospheres. Okay, I usually don't do it with because I've already done it during the temperature control. Okay, so now I'm not gonna touch this aspect of the photograph because the ambience I've already set. Okay, so we come to now saturation and luminance. Okay, my suggestion to each one of you is now you are seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors. Okay, same 8 colors are here. So process one by one. So if you are adjusting saturation of one particular color, go to the luminance of that particular color then and there itself, adjust it again. Okay, so don't do it that I will adjust all the colors and then I'll go to luminance and adjust the luminance. Okay, so saturation typically means how dark your color should look. Okay, luminance means how bright that particular color should look. So both are contrasting to each other, but you can have a mix and match approach to deal with them. Okay, so let's see how it works. Now in a monal, what I see is this particular color I can call as an aqua color. I can call this into blue category. Okay, I can call the tail of the monal in orange as well as the neck in orange. Okay, so I want to highlight these colors. Let's see how saturation and luminance helps us. Okay, so now see now if I'm increasing the aqua, it is it is not picking up aquas. Now I'm going to blues. Now see now if I've increased the blue, the saturation of the wings, just keep your eye over here, increases. But what happens with this increase? The detailing of the feather goes away. Okay, so do not overdo this, just slight. Okay, just slight saturation. Again, my advice to most of the photographers, avoid doing too much of saturation. I usually avoid it. Okay, now we go to luminance. uh, See now if I do the blue color luminance, now can you see how brighten up their wings have become now? Now if I reduce, see now. So always please remember that if you brighten it up, your subject stands to get better exposed, better light, better standout performance. Same with orange. Now you see if I reduce orange, see the tail is going very dark. See now, see now, and I have increased the luminance, the brightness of their wings, the brightness of their necks come back. Okay, So this is about it. So again, split toning, we usually avoid split toning. Split toning means in a portrait you would have seen kid sitting in a yellow t-shirt, the entire atmosphere around him or her is black and white, and only the yellow t-shirt is looking up good. So okay, split toning is avoidable in wildlife photography. Okay, and here only few people wanted to know about black and white. So here only you can do convert to grayscale. As soon as you do, see your photograph now turns into black and white. Okay, in HSL only. So I am again deselecting it. That's it. Okay. So now we come to the second last or the penultimate window, which is lens corrections. Can you see this lens corrections? Okay. On lens correction, you go to profile. Uh, Many a times there is chromatic aberration. That is, many a times we click photographs against the light. The light bends around the subjects stems or branches, and there is a slight bluish line running around the photographs. Sorry. So we need to avoid that. Just to avoid that, many a times it doesn't also happen. Like in this photograph it will yield no impact, but make it a habit of clicking it, because it will only do good to you rather than doing bad. Okay. So now we do enable profile corrections. Now as soon as I do this, see now what it is showing me is, now if I have not clicked it, it is showing me nothing. As soon as I do, what it shows me is lens profile Nikon. Okay. It is also showing me which lens I have done. Okay. So it flattens out the image. So understand this thing. If you would have seen movies in older times, there used to be a cinemascope screen. Okay. Even the TVs were not flat screen TVs at that point of time. Okay. There was a slight curvature on them. Same happens with your sensor. Okay. When sensors creates an image or documents an image on it, it's slightly curved. Okay. And when you are editing this image on your laptop, it is a flat thing. So just to make both the things meet at a common place, you need to do this. So now you see, if I disable and enable, see now my photograph goes a bit curved. As soon as I do this, it's like a hand pushing the photographs ahead from behind at the center point of the photograph. See now. So now my photograph has got flattened out. Okay. Now one of the most important tool, you would have seen many bird photographers or wildlife photographers photographs looking very clean. Okay. When the final result is shared. The secret tool behind this is dehaze tool. Okay. And you would have also seen many photographs having haze around it. Again, the secret tool behind this is dehaze. Okay. So now let's see, if I reduce dehazing, what happens, and when I increase dehazing, what happens. Okay. So here I am, see now, entire image is going hue, hazy, is now it looks absolutely a dream sequence kind of a thing now. Okay. So typically this looks good, but let's see if I increase dehazing, what happens. Okay. See now, my image is looking more bold. It is looking more pronounced in the scene. So dehaze your photographs a bit. Okay. Once done, now you come to the final section, what we call as camera calibration. Okay. In this, I prefer Adobe Standard. Many wildlife photographers prefer camera vivid. So if I do camera vivid, see now, the colors are more vibrant, more bright, which I really don't prefer, because this was not the color which I had seen. Okay, so I prefer what my photograph to look as what I have seen with my naked eyes. Okay, and once done, what I'll do is I'll open this photograph, and now this photograph goes into Photoshop.